Welcome to another interesting episode on Update with Ricky. Today, I have got with me Yele Sowore, the CEO, owner of Sahara Reporter. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for bringing me.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm sure our viewers have some burning questions for you.
Yes, Lord.
Having known your background, and then Sahara Reporter, and then now we're talking about you being a presidential candidate. How do you come about all of this? What brought you into this ambition?
Before Sahara Reporters, I have done several years of activism. As a young student, I fought against military rule. And after Nigeria attained a democracy in 1999, I left, went to school in the US, and then started Sahara Reporters a few years later. So I've always been in the midst or in the middle of political happenings in Nigeria. And over the years, I've studied Nigeria and come to a conclusion that except really good people, people with good intention, people with exposure and experience, and sometimes raw will get involved in Nigerian political life, Nigeria is not going to make the kind of rapid progress we need to make. And I happen to have been around these political circles and happenings and events for 30 years. And I've been a participant, I've been in the middle of everything that shaped politics in the last 30 years in Nigeria, starting from when I was a student activist at the University of Lagos.
Wow.
Yes.
So a wealth of experience behind you then.
Absolutely.
Right. So would you say that's what inspired you coming into, or rather the ambition for being...
It's a bunch of things, and including the fact that, I always had, I have this theory about democracy, especially in Nigerian setting, that if I was there when Nigeria's democracy started or restarted in 1999 and helped to oversee a period when democracy was consolidated, first by removing a strong man who wanted to continue in office in 2007, I think, and in helping to broaden the democratic space to the extent that the minority in Nigeria became president, and then got to the point where we were able to midwife a party-to-party transition of power. The next level is a generational change. And I want to see that is made possible in my lifetime. But what has been missing in all other stages before now has been to have people of character, people of capacity, and people who have exposure, people who have integrity handling Nigeria at those crucial stages. Before now, we've left it with incompetent people, people who are sentimentally attached to religion, tribe, people who have very shady backgrounds, people with political and military baggage. Time is to get rid of that. So this is a time for real people to handle Nigeria's march into the future.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I followed your activities in the past few months, and I could say that for the first few periods that you started the whole journey, it was quite intense.
Yes.
But recently, it's not as intense as it was before. Are you still interested in the race?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it's less intense. It just happened that the political season is heating up. When I started, and a number of people started, the big wigs had not stepped in. They hadn't brought money into politics. So now it's a function of volume. It's just more people aspiring to be president of Nigeria. It's the same old people, and they've come in to pollute the circle. They're bringing in money, they're bringing in violence, they're bringing in the shenanigans that is associated with their brand of politicking. So that might mean that you see more people and you hear less from individual, unique people. But I think on our side, things are still very unique. We're driving the agenda, we're driving conversation within Nigeria's politics. We're the ones that people are talking about. I started about 8 months ago as a movement, and the first set of people to start with a movement and then ended up with a political party, which is less than 2 months old. So you can imagine the progress we've made, the number of places we've visited, things we've talked about. In fact, so many of our ideas are now driving public discourse in Nigeria. So nothing is less intense. It's just become more broad,
So do you,
and
do you
it's more
actually,
substance.
do you think the big guys with the big pockets,
Yes.
do you think they're actually overshadowing people like you?
No, I don't think so. I just think that, if we have 10 people traveling a route before and suddenly you have 50, people are likely to miss certain events that are happening. But they're not overshadowing me, they're not overshadowing everybody. We have our unique spaces where we operate. We have unique populations that we talk to. We have unique people who are following us. They're not leaving us. In fact, more and more of them have joined us. And we're seeing a lot of progress. You're hearing more from these people. We're seeing a lot of engagement and participation from especially Nigerians, young Nigerians. So we're not being overshadowed at all. If anything, they're the ones that are worried that with all the money they have, people don't want to hear from them. But you also don't forget that parties are holding primaries, they're choosing their leaders. So all of this is dividing attention. But as I always say, at the end of the day, men will be separated from boys and old men.
Right, okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Right, okay, so you did say something about your party being just under 2 months old?
Yes.
Right, okay, but you started this journey about 8 months ago.
Yes.
Now, under which party are you actually running now?
As the African Action Congress, which is one of the 23 newly registered political parties in Nigeria. So,
right. You were once part of Pact, though, right?
So that's interesting. I was never part of Pact. I only attended an event, actually 2 events related to Pact in one day. They came to me. I was actually the one who reached out to one of them and said, what about we start coming together, because I was continuing to see wear and tear on the part of some of the younger candidates, and I said, why don't we come together and so we can have this? And they invited me to a meeting, and I went to the meeting. When I got there, I realized they had a different agenda, and I immediately said I wasn't going to be part of the coalition. Never signed their communique, and then we had another get-together in the evening after that to the home of Charlie Boy. We call him Area Father. It's this very interesting musician and activist in Abuja. And that was the last I saw of them. And eventually they reached out to me.
It's being said that you actually withdrew from the party because Fela Durotoye emerged.
That's not true. So that's the thing. I didn't participate up to the point where Durotoye won. I left after the first day. I told them I wasn't interested. I wasn't sure that this is something that will produce the kind of result that I thought Nigerians are looking for. What I actually proposed at that meeting was that we should allow all the aspirants to go become candidates first, and then we can come back together.
So basically, for all the aspirants to go forward, have a primary,
yes,
allow the people,
and then we can come back together and have a conversation as to how to work together. And there's ample evidence about this. I wasn't part of Pact to the point that people participated to the end, signed MOUs, memorandum of understanding. I didn't participate of it. I only attended one meeting, but I think people they're so excited about my candidacy that they have to insert me into it somehow to give credibility somehow to what eventually happened. Because I saw reports the next day, I was surprised. Oh, there's some of the reports that were syndicated across Nigeria said Durotoye had defeated Moghalu and Sowore, which is not true. I thought that was dishonest. But I understand people want to do what they need to do. It's political season. It's fine.
Why did you leave it till the very last minute? Because you mentioned that your party is only just under 2 months old. You started the journey 8 months ago, you said?
Yeah.
So why that long?
We started as a political movement. Our movement was known as Take It Back movement. And the movement was doing education and conscientization and mobilizing young people, the old, the disenfranchised. We call ourselves the Zone 7 of Nigeria political zones. And those are the people who have been left out of the other zones, politically speaking. So the initial intention was to join a political party, and we went around looking for parties that could accommodate our ideas and ideologies, and couldn't find any. And somehow along the line, we found out we could still register a political party of our own that could take care of all of these issues that we needed to be talking about and acting upon. And that was how we went and formed our own political party, and we found out that we could still run under that particular party umbrella in the presidential election, state assemblies, local government elections, governorship elections, and the Senate, and also House of Reps. So that was why we formed the party. And 23 parties were formed, registered at the same time. And of all the 23 parties, we're the only ones you probably hear about today.
Right.
So we're doing so well that everybody's talking about AAC. That's what.
AAC.
Yes, AAC. Yes,
okay.
double AC.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're number 3 on the Nigerian ballot paper for political parties.
Yeah.
In the order of So if you're having difficulties finding a good party to vote for on election day,
AAC
is number 3. Yes.
Okay, so pre-2015 election,
yes,
you actually supported, or rather, you were seen, Sahara reporters
yes,
were seen
yeah,
as to being pro-APC at the time. What's changed?
it was incorrect. What Sahara reporters did at that time was what we've always done. Whenever there is political transition, we take a position that is based on ensuring that the outgoing government or the government in power is held to account. And that's what we did during the 3rd term of President Olusegun Obasanjo. It's what we did under Yar'Adua. That was actually the first time that we were profiled by Al Jazeera, as our reporters at that time. That was what we did under Jonathan, when there's a lot of corruption, and we're just focusing on the corruption because we want the Nigerian society to be a better place, to be habitable and livable for its people. Of course, because it's political season, we're always accused of bias because, we are biased on the side of the truth. And they bring in other things. I can tell you that under Jonathan, when we were fighting the Yar'Adua cabal, as they used to call it at that time, they accused us of working for Jonathan. When Obasanjo was fighting his vice, Atiku, they accused us of working for Atiku at the time. Then later they said we're working for Obasanjo at another time. So every media company out there in the world faces backlash from, very powerful political interests because, you're always accused of being against somebody because you want somebody. We've been accused of supporting Boko Haram before, and then Boko Haram has accused us of being infidels and actually issued videos asking for our offices to be bombed. So we've been through all of this before. It's not new. But what you can't find is you cannot find a place where I endorse Buhari. In most newspapers and television stations do that, or the APC. I never did that. It's not correct. And the moment they came into office, we started doing the same thing against them, that is holding their feet to fire. And now they don't know what to accuse us of, because you can't accuse us of working for PDP because they claim we ruined the PDP in 2014, 2015. But if you go out there now, you find them calling us all kinds of names because we're not doing the bidding of people in government. Yes.
What do you think of the current economic climate of Nigeria as
Terrible.
Under this administration?
Terrible. This is an economic system that's sold Nigerians down the river and thrown our people under the bus, and they're just rolling over us. And it was simple. The president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, when he came to power, was not prepared for office. He's still not prepared for office as we speak. He's sick, he's tired, and there's little or nothing upstairs as far as I'm concerned in terms of managerial capability to manage Nigerian economy. And what they did was they took him 6 months to even appoint his ministers. At the time that Nigeria was going under economically, there was a recession that was building. And what did these guys went out there and they were manipulating the naira. They have about 5 exchange rates, and they were just doing what they call round tripping, selling dollars and naira underneath the table and making billions for themselves. That is what Nigeria has been under, and most of it, the rest of the time, it was just some kind of circumlocution, as what I like to call it, where we had the president going in and out of hospital. And the president of Nigeria is so powerful. The moment he's not in town, everything grinds to a halt.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And that is why we have to put an end to that cycle.